You see this photograph here? You see this aerial photograph? Yeah. This is an old landfill. And all of these colors are the methane emissions coming from the landfill. Yeah, that is wild. That is wild. Every bit of purple represents methane emissions, and then the brighter colors are heat signatures, which means more intense methane emissions. According to scientists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory at the California Institute of Technology, methane emissions from landfills are the number one source of methane emissions in the state of California. Now, I should say that the scientific community as a whole has not come to a consensus on that. They have not. But these guys use satellite imagery and imagery from airplanes to find emissions like in the photo you just saw. And according to them, about 46% of all methane emissions in the state actually comes from landfills, from the decaying organic matter that lies below the ground. All of the food waste, all of the food we throw away ends up in a landfill as decaying organic matter, and it turns into methane and natural gas. And according to these scientists, it's landfills at 46%, dairy farms and oil and gas operations both come in at 26% each. But like I said, there's not a consensus across the scientific community about this. There's still some debate. But according to the state of New York and their methane reduction plan that they published in 2017, methane emissions from landfills were 5 times greater than oil and gas operations in the state of New York. Now, there is a caveat to that. There's not a lot of oil and gas operations ongoing in the state of New York. So methane emissions from landfills should be higher because there's not a lot of oil and gas going on there. There's also not a lot of oil and gas operations going on, new operations going on in the state of California either. So if you were to look at a state like Texas, where there is a ton of oil and gas operations going on, methane emissions from landfills are not going to be number one. Now, regardless of whoever is number 1, number 2, or number 3 in methane emissions, it's not really the point. The point is, landfills are a huge contributor to methane emissions, especially in the United States, because of all of our food waste. Most scientists do agree that it's about 11 or 12% of all methane emissions in our country comes from landfills. And that is with the current mitigation efforts that we have in place. What you see behind me here used to be a landfill. And underneath all of this beautiful native grass is hundreds and thousands of tons of decaying organic matter and trash that has been covered over. This has been reseeded. It looks beautiful. Look at all that beautiful grass. What you don't know is that if you looked at this with a satellite image, there would be tons of methane just coming right out of the ground. And these right here, these are landfill gas wells. This is a way to mitigate methane emissions from landfills. They drill these holes in landfills and they actually suck the gas and methane up from out of the landfills. And they literally use that gas and methane and they send it down a pipeline to generate electricity. So that's a good thing. Probably one of the biggest and most important things that you can do as an individual to reduce your footprint, to reduce methane emissions that you create, is to simply not waste food. That's it. If everyone in this country stopped wasting food, our methane emissions would drop dramatically. And it shouldn't be that hard because we throw away enough food to feed multiple other countries, multiple other entire countries. That is how much food we just discard. Well, I hope you learned something today. Don't waste food. Thanks.